Welcome back to our series on St. Joseph. This is the last session that we have together, and we want to talk specifically about devotion to St. Joseph, how we can grow in our devotion. First of all, like all things, we want to be able to define our terms. And when it comes to devotion, that word devotion, you can hear, if you pull it apart, the word for a votum, a vow. That devotion has to do with consecrating yourself to something, taking your powers, your mind, your heart, your body, and committing it to something. And so when we speak about devotion, we're not speaking specifically about whether or not I have lots of affection or feelings at the moment for something, but that we're devoted. You think about anyone who's devoted to their craft, anyone who's devoted to their family, anyone who's devoted to their work. The reason we give them that appellation, that title of devoted, is because they've clearly committed themselves to something. And that's a question of the will, not of the emotions. I'm the rector of St. Joseph College Seminary. We chose that name, St. Joseph, as our patron, specifically because of the witness of his life that we spoke about earlier in terms of contemplation, silence, obedience, reason, revelation, and fortitude. All of those things impact the men here who are trying to grow as solid men that will then be given that grace of the priesthood. And so we work on our devotion to him specifically by real acts, by acts of the will. So what are those? Well, one of them, of course, is prayer. There's a wonderful book that we put together on the various prayers the church has to St. Joseph. And each one of those both fills your mind with considerations of Joseph, but also steels your will in an attempt to say, I want to be like you. Give me the grace to be able to accomplish that. One of the specific prayers that I love the most in terms of aid and assistance is the 30-day novena to St. Joseph. I find it has always come back with a singular grace. Never have I ever prayed that prayer, or had the seminarians pray that prayer, that we didn't experience in the seminary. Some really profound alteration that takes place by grace. Also, we go to St. Joseph for our lives of temperance. We seek him out to be men of temperance and chastity, because he is the chaste guardian of the Virgin. We go to St. Joseph also in terms of his titles. We sing his litany every single time that we have adoration, for the very purpose of reminding us what God has done in the life of Joseph and what he's trying to do in the life of every individual priest, but in that sense for everyone in their families. I would pick up a book on both devotions of and prayers to St. Joseph and begin to inculcate into your families, into your own personal life, that most wondrous of saints. Another way to do so is to actually make a consecration to St. Joseph. In the year of St. Joseph here in our diocese, a number of persons have done that. And what we did is, because it takes some time to do a consecration, a full consecration, as you have perhaps done to Our Lady, it takes some time to do so. So we kind of backdated things relative to when a particular feast of St. Joseph was. So of course we have the specific ones of the 19th of March, the feast of St. Joseph as the universal patron of the church. But we also have, of course, St. Joseph the Worker on May 1st. And so surrounding those feasts, and even the Feast of the Holy Family, we sort of back up from that and begin to prepare for those feasts, and on that feast make a consecration to St. Joseph. All of those practices I would highly recommend. Statues of St. Joseph, images of St. Joseph in your home, make sure he's enthroned there. Almost like the two hearts, we have the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and oftentimes you see that third heart there, that chaste, beautiful heart of St. Joseph. To enthrone them in your home and to make St. Joseph, beseech him to be the patron not just of the universal church, but the particular church, the domestic church of your own family.